The change in the vector itself is going to be the final vector minus the initial vector. So our final vector was 5 towards east, जो as it is draw किया. Our initial vector was 3 towards north, है ना? तो चेंज निकालने के लिए मुझे इनिशियल वेक्टर सब्ट्रैक्ट करना है. मतलब ए इनिशियल ऐड करने की जगह माइनस ए इनिशियल को ऐड कर लो, तो 3 न्यूटन टुवर्ड्स साउथ ऐड करना था. So I just had to add these two vectors, which you can see we joined head to tail, and we got this, and then this became our resultant. So resultant was the resultant of 5 and 3. Pythagoras addition of 5 and 3, which came out to be root 34. And its angle, we can see that theta was, or tan inverse of theta, tan theta was 3 by 5. So theta, one of the ways of describing theta can be tan inverse 3 by 5. Some of you found the angle it made with the vertical, with the north-south direction. So you found alpha, and then we can observe that tan alpha is the opposite. It's 5 by 3. So tan alpha is 5 by 3. Then you can even describe alpha as tan inverse 5 by 3. Okay. So how do we finally describe our direction? We said if you want to describe your direction, especially let's say you want to describe it in terms of theta, you can say that this. You can see that this is east, and this direction is south of east. From east, you're turning towards the south through an angle theta, through an angle tan inverse 3 by 5. Therefore, our direction is theta, whatever it may be, theta tan inverse. Sorry. अच्छा. यहाँ पे theta tan inverse 3 by 5 south of east. Theta tan inverse 3 by 5 south of east. That was one way of describing our direction. The other way, I think this theta is a little misleading. The other way is, ये जो alpha हमने describe किया with the vertical, उसके terms में अगर answer करना है, so then our direction is like this, है ना? And we are facing south, but south से we are turning towards the east by an amount alpha. So it becomes alpha, that angle उतने से rotate करना है, in which direction? East of south की तरफ rotate करना. So that was the question we did in the previous class. Okay. With that, I'll just, can change of a vector be negative? No. So the change of the magnitude can be negative. Magnitude is a scalar. Scalars can be negative. Your number line has positive numbers, negative numbers. The change in magnitude can be negative. If a vector goes from 5 Newton upward to 3 Newton towards the right, then that change becomes 3 minus 5. अगर पहले 5 था, बाद में 3 है, my change is minus 2. है ना? So change can be negative. Change can be negative. But on the other hand, change in a vector cannot be negative, because change in a vector is just nothing but vector subtraction. And vector subtraction is nothing but a type of vector addition. What are you going to get? You're going to get a vector of some magnitude and some direction. You know? So what do we mean by saying a vector is negative? I think you're talking about the magnitude. Can the magnitude of a vector ever be negative? No. It's either 0 or something positive. Got it? Even if you somehow refer to a negative vector, usko bas, its ultimate, the ultimate vector is something positive in the opposite direction, in the real direction. In the real direction of the vector strength is always positive. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry. यहाँ पे theta ही है, yes. Or theta equal to, say, my bad. Theta equal to tan inverse 3 by root 34 cos inverse 5 by half. This is a different, this is alpha. This is another way of uh, describing the direction. Okay. All right, so I just repeated the second part. The entire thing is recorded. This was done last time as well. All right, so I want to move on. If you have a doubt in this, I would say just if you can stay back for a bit after class, I'll explain that again. All right. लास्ट टाइम भी किया, आज भी थोड़ा रिपीट किया, फिर भी डाउट है कोई बात नहीं. The one who just asked me to repeat, just make sure you stay back a little bit after class. I'll explain that again. ठीक है? Okay. All right. Now I'll just quickly go over the directions. ये थोड़ा तुम्हें आगे already, but please understand these are your basic directions. Northeast is not any random direction between north and east. It's a direction exactly 45 degrees between a direction exactly between north and east. मतलब वो north से exactly 45 बनाएगा, east से exactly 45 बनाएगा, है ना. मतलब ऐसा कोई random direction दिखा, this direction is not northeast. इसको डिस्क्राइब करने के दो तरीके हैं, है ना. कैसे डिस्क्राइब कर सकते हैं? वी कैन से इट मेक्स एन एंगल ऑफ 30 degrees. So it's at an angle of 30 degrees east, and from east you have to rotate towards the north. So it's 30 degrees north of east. It's like 30 degrees above east. So you can say 30 degrees north of east. Another way of describing the exact same direction, north से 60 degrees बनाता है, north से तुम right की तरफ turn करते हो, east की तरफ turn करते हो. So this is 60 degrees east of north. 60 degrees east of north, because you've turned towards the east through an angle 60 degrees. You know? And similarly, the direction which we just saw, we can refer to that as tan inverse 3 by 5 south of east. So that's just this is a recap, but please get these directions in your, make sure you understand how to express these directions. There are several ways you could represent it like this, represent it like this. One of two ways you can write the direction. अगर हो गया लिख के तो डन बोल दो. Anyone wants me to wait, बता दो. Okay. Waiting. Those who said wait, let me know when you're done. Okay. Okay. जिन्होंने वेट बोला था. Whoever says wait, whenever you're done, na, just say done. Okay. All right. So the next law that we're going to see is polygon law. Okay. So one of the limitations of a triangle law was that we could add only two vectors. So the advantage in this law is that it is used to add more than two vectors. Okay. First, we'll see the rule, we'll see the instruction, and then we'll see how this law is true. So the instruction is join all the vectors that you want to add in a head to tail fashion. Just like triangle law head to tail का. This is maybe सभी को head to tail fashion में join करो and form a chain. Like you can see over here. है ना? A, B, C, D सबको ऐसे एक head to tail fashion में draw किया. These were our initial vectors. Addition में the order is not important. तो कोई भी ऑर्डर में इनको ऐड कर लो. ए के बाद सी डालना है, सी के बाद डी डालना है, डी के बाद बी डालना है, वो भी चलेगा. Just join them in a head to tail fashion, form a chain. Okay, so it looks somewhat like this, the one I've highlighted. A के बाद B, B के बाद C, C के बाद D, ऐसा head to tail fashion में सबको ड्रॉ करके एक वो पिंक कलर का चेन बन गया. ठीक है, पिंक कलर का चेन बन गया. This is our first step. The next step is complete the last side of the polygon. Complete the last side of the polygon by drawing a vector from the available tail to the available head. This will be the resultant of all the vectors. What does the word resultant mean? Means sum. So this is going to be the sum of, it's going to be the sum of all the vectors. So now they're telling me, ये अपना जो ये pink मैंने chain बनाया, they're saying ये chain में look for the available tail. किसका tail खाली पड़ा है ना? Everyone's tail is occupied except A. This is my available tail. Okay. So starting from the available tail, I need to draw a vector towards the available head. So the again, kiska head is available? A, B, C ka head is available. D's head is free. All right. So once you have drawn that chain, you're going to draw a vector from this tail to that head. Jiska tail khali pada hai towards jiska head khali pada hai. So that last side that you draw, completing the polygon. What's a polygon? Is just an n-sided. Sorry. A polygon is just an n-sided figure. Okay. So that last, like a triangle, a square, a pentagon, hexagon, these are all polygons. Alright, so the last side that you draw, completing the polygon, that becomes your resultant. And one thing you can note is, whatever vectors you're adding, they're typically going to go in one direction, clockwise or anti-clockwise. But that resultant will always be in the opposite direction. Okay? Because when we say available tail to the available head, there's no direction reverse ho jata hai. So while all your vectors are taken in one sense, the ones you're adding, the resultant is in the opposite sense. In सबको clockwise, sorry, ये क्या हो गया? ये anti-clockwise ले रहा है, तो ये वाला clockwise add हो रहा है. The resultant is in the opposite sense. Or you can, a good way to remember it is the one from the available tail to the available head. It's in the opposite order, or is from the available tail to the available head of the vector of the chains that you have created. Okay. Achha. So these are the first two steps. यहाँ से अपना resultant आ गया. इसमें एक और interesting instruction मिल रहा है. If the vectors themselves form a closed chain and there is no place to draw the resultant will be a zero vector. Okay, so we'll talk about that as well, but for now, we'll explain the first two statements. But ये क्या third वाला क्या बोल रहा है? अगर vector closed chain बना रहा है, मतलब तुम vectors 3 vector को या 4-5 vector को add करते करते तुम्हारा polygon ही closed polygon बन गया. So by the rules, my fourth side will be this. I'm going to try to draw a vector from the available tail to the available head, but there's no place for me to draw this vector. जैसे यहाँ पे जगह था ना, the chain was not closed. यहाँ पे जगह था तो एक vector बन गया, but यहाँ पे I want to draw the resultant, but there's no place for me to draw the resultant. What does that imply? What is the magnitude of this resultant going to be? Okay. It's going to be 0. I mean, depending on the gap. If the gap is small, magnitude is small. But if there is no gap at all, my resultant is going to be 0. Okay. So it's going to be a vector which is 0. Therefore, we call it a 0 vector. So that was the third point. Okay, this is the complete rule. We'll come to the third point in some time. But for now, let me explain where this rule is coming from. You'll see that this rule is actually just an extension of triangle law. Okay, let's prove it. Let's go back to this chain A plus B plus C plus D. Okay, we are saying that this is the addition of A, B, C, and D. तो एक एक करके देखेंगे. पहले तो यार, what is this going to be? Isn't it clear that this is the addition of this and this by triangle law? You know, the green vector, if you consider this triangle, the green vector is the addition of vector A and vector B. A, B are taken in one order. This is in the reverse opposite order. You know? So A plus B is nothing but this vector plus this vector. The green vector is the addition of these two. दिख रहा है साफ साफ. Okay. अब एक बार तुमने green वाला निकाल दिया, then focus on this triangle. इस triangle में क्या दिख रहा है? इस triangle में देखो head to tail joint कौन है? A plus B and C head to tail joint है. So now the blue vector is the resultant of this vector and this vector. A plus B and C are in one sense. The blue vector is in the opposite sense. है ना? Same pattern, मतलब दूसरे direction में जा रहा है. ऐसा जाने की तरह ऐसा जा रहा है. Implying कि that is the resultant of A plus B and C. So the blue vector is A plus B plus C. वैसे ही continue करते जाओ. This dark blue vector now seems to be the addition of the light blue vector and the pink vector because they're joined head to tail. So the dark blue vector becomes A plus B plus C plus D. You know, so as you can see, what we're doing over here, we are just applying triangle law again, multiple times. And by that, we have proved that this is indeed the addition of these four vectors. So by triangle law, we have proved that Polygon's law is true. The addition of these three vectors again was A plus B plus C by Polygon law. So Polygon law is nothing but an extension of triangle law, okay, which you can now remember and which will save. Of course, when you have multiple vectors, you'll have to apply Polygon law to get your resultant. Yes, why not? कोई पूछ रहा है, can the vectors intersect each other? बिल्कुल. क्या है, मतलब मैंने तुम्हें ऐसे ही गंदे से वेक्टर्स दे दिए कि तुमने दे दिया कि तुम बनाते बनाते ऐसा सब गंदा सब ऐसा कुछ हो रहा है. It's not your fault. I've given you vectors like that which are doing all of this. हो सकता है if you change the order you may not see them intersect, but either way if you draw it and it turns out it's intersecting like this, doesn't matter, just follow the rules. ये एक बार तुमने head to tail ऐसा draw कर लिया, last vector is this one from the available tail to the available head. This is your last vector. Huh? It will still give you a resultant as long as there is some gap. As long as there is some gap from the starting point, between the starting point and the finishing point, you'll always be able to get your resultant. If there is no gap, if this vector finishes over here, if there was no gap, then there would be no place for you to draw the resultant. In that case, your resultant would be 0. ठीक है, इंटरसेक्ट वगैरह हो रहा है, कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, कॉपी कर लो. I could easily draw it in another way where they don't intersect. The order actually does not matter. Whichever way you draw it, you'll always end up getting the same result. Very nice. So one of you saying, can polygon law be applicable for subtraction of vectors? So we are not going to develop any new law for subtraction because the basic funda is that subtraction behaves like addition. So we are not going to develop a new law for subtraction. But what you can do is, if at all I asked you to find a plus b minus c, yeah, just flip this minus c vector and draw that. So like in this case, had I ये मेरा सी वेक्टर है, अगर मुझे a प्लस बी माइनस सी चाहिए, मैं क्या करूंगा, ये सी वेक्टर को उल्टा करके इधर ड्रॉ करूंगा, तो ये हो गया मेरा माइनस सी वेक्टर. ठीक, एंड फिर आई विल ड्रॉ द वेक्टर फ्रॉम द अवेलेबल टेल टू द अवेलेबल हेड. सो देन दिस बिकम्स a प्लस बी, है ना. क्या क्या है इस चेन में, a है, b है, माइनस c है, तो ये मेरा वेक्टर ऑरेंज वेक्टर क्या हो गया, a प्लस बी माइनस c. We'll see examples on this as well. But yes, if you have to subtract any vector, just multiply it with the minus sign and then now treat it as addition. So don't treat this as a plus b minus c, but treat it as a plus b plus another vector called as minus c. Okay. Yeah. While you're copying, anyone has any doubts, you can ask. One of you is asking me to explain the second part of the law. Ye wala, complete this one, second statement. हाँ. क्या है, जो तुम्हारे वेक्टर्स जो तुम्हें ऐड करना है, उसको तुम एक, जैसे ही तुमने एक चेन बना लिया है ना, ऐसा हेड टू टेल ज्वाइन करते करते ऐसा चेन बन गया, उस चेन में तुम्हें दिखेगा कि एक टेल अवेलेबल है. किसका टेल अवेलेबल है ना. इफ यू सी D's tail is gone, C's tail is gone, B's tail is gone, only A's tail is available. So the overall tail of the chain, the available tail, okay, and the available head, identify them. So D bar ka jo sir hai, that's the available head, because that's free, that's the free head, and this is the free tail. The second rule is telling me to draw a vector from the free tail to the free head, the available tail to the available head. Okay, so imagine if I had some vectors like this, what I'll do, I'll join them, I'll form a chain. ऐसा ज्वाइन किया इन वेक्टर्स को, चेन बन गया. चेन बनने के बाद अवेलेबल टेल, ये मेरा अवेलेबल टेल है, अवेलेबल हेड वो है, तो यहां से लेकर वहां तक जो वेक्टर बनेगा, that's going to be the addition of these three. Did you get that now? You just have to join them one after the other, create a chain, फिर available tail से available end, that's going to be the resultant. Okay, and one of you said, again you asked, yeah, it cannot be used for subtraction. It absolutely can be used for subtraction. बस एक नया law नहीं है. You can imagine how many combinations will be there. Either minus है, A subtract कर रहे, B subtract कर रहे, C subtract कर रहे, D subtract कर रहे, subtract कर रहे. There could be many combinations. So we're not going to make more and more laws for this. Okay, but if at all, as I just said, if we have to subtract a vector, okay, so let's just say कि plus के जगह यहाँ पे minus c है. If you want to subtract a vector, treat it like, don't treat it like subtraction, treat it like the addition of, instead of c bar, addition of minus c bar to this combination. So instead of drawing c bar, draw minus c bar and then draw d bar. Got it? So it can absolutely be used for subtraction as well. है ना, ये जो मैंने अभी ड्रॉ किया, that will be like a plus b minus c plus d. c bar को उल्टा किया, d bar को ऐड किया. Don't copy this. I mean, थोड़ा messy हो जाएगा. We'll see some examples of that as well. But that's the idea. Okay. All right. Let me know if you're done with this. This is not the same as parallelogram method. That's a different thing. If you have heard of some kind of parallelogram law, this is not the same. Triangle is also a polygon, yes. So even, from now you can even look at triangle law as the special case of polygon law. You can also look at it that way. Triangle law is also like polygon. All right, done. Cool. So let's try some questions. Find this, add these vectors up, figure out the direction, figure out the magnitude. So vector A is 2 Newton towards the right, vector B is 3 Newton upward, vector C is 4 Newton towards the right, and vector D is 5 Newton downward. Okay, figure out the magnitude, figure out its angle with the horizontal. जीरो नहीं होगा इसमें, जीरो नहीं आ रहा. 6 is also wrong. Bhavya, your answer is right. Yes, Sania. What happened? Of course, you can absolutely change the order in which you join them. Of course. तुम्हें अगर ऐसा है ना, हॉरिजॉन्टल वाले को पहले क्लब करना है, वर्टिकल को क्लब करके बाद में ऐड करना है, मतलब a plus c plus b plus d करना है, of course you can do that. Vedika, that's right. Root 65 is wrong. Please check that. Bhavya, your answer is right again. Six गलत है, 10 गलत है. उन्नति, वेदिका सही है. 2√41 गलत है. सही है. Direction is wrong. Just find the angle with the horizontal. As I said, northeast is exactly a 45-degree angle. So just find its angle with the horizontal. Okay, it's not 45. And 14 जो आंसर कर रहा है वो भी गलत है. Please understand कि I am not asking you. This is a vector addition. Okay, तो vector addition मतलब हमें इनको vectorially add करना है based on the law we saw on the previous page. Don't go around adding their magnitudes. Sus, that's right. Can you tell me a full name? Manas, सही है. Kenat, सही है. Okay. I hope who answered 14 got this now. Suraj, okay. So 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 is wrong because you're just adding the magnitudes. These are vectors. I have not asked addition of the magnitudes. I've asked the addition of the vectors. All right. So let's just discuss now. See, this is the answer we should be getting. Kya hai? I am adding in the order given. You can, of course, change the order. Of course, makes sense to quickly add 2 and 4 and make it 6. It makes sense to combine 3 and 5 and make it 2. 5 and 3 opposite direction में तो cancel. Okay, of course makes sense to get 6, get 2 and then add the 2 and form a triangle. वैसे definitely कर सकता है ना? Or just to demonstrate, I mean, I'm just going to go in the same order and demonstrate what's how we're applying polygon law. So this is vector a bar. उसको फिर b bar के tail से join किया, तो b bar ऐसा है upward. फिर उसको सी बार के टेल से ज्वाइन किया विच इज 4 न्यूटन टुवर्ड्स द राइट, और फिर उसको डी बार के टेल से ज्वाइन किया विच इज 5 न्यूटन डाउनवर्ड. तो ऐसा हमने ज्वाइन कर लिया. ठीक है, अब मुझे ये मेरा चेन बन गया, मुझे रिजल्टेंट चाहिए, तो नेचुरली माय रिजल्टेंट इज दिस अवेलेबल टेल से अवेलेबल हेड. सो द पिंक वेक्टर इज माय रिजल्टेंट. नाउ हाउ डू आई फिगर आउट द रिजल्टेंट? सो द वे टू फिगर आउट द रिजल्टेंट इज इट लुक्स लाइक it looks like it can be the hypotenuse of this triangle. Yeah, I'm just constructing a triangle because this looks like some kind of hypotenuse. So I'm seeing what is this right angle triangle that जिससे मुझे a plus b plus c plus d का magnitude आएगा. तो this right angle triangle का है ना, ये imaginary triangle है, इसका जो width है that can apparently be 2 and 4 का sum 6 है ना. So the width seems to be 6 Newton and this length, अब ये 5 है, ये 3 है, तो ये 2 है. So the length or the height seems to be 2 Newton. So we now know कि this length that we want to figure out, है ना, that is moving horizontally 6 and vertically 2. So 6 and 2 का Pythagoras addition should give me this hypotenuse. So 6 and 2 का Pythagoras addition will give me root 6 square plus 2 square root 40. Yeah, 2 root 10 both are the same. Okay, that is my resultant. And how do I find the angle it makes with the horizontal? So the angle it makes with the horizontal is theta, and theta is tan inverse opposite by adjacent. Tan theta is opposite by adjacent. So theta is tan inverse opposite by adjacent. Opposite is 2, adjacent is 6. So theta is tan inverse 2 by 6. Your tan inverse, tan theta is 1 by 3, theta is tan inverse 1 by. Okay, so this is the angle it makes below the horizontal. Okay, this is the angle it makes. It's towards the right and it's below the horizontal. Or you can say this is the angle. It's tan inverse 1 by 3 south of east. East से south की तरफ घूमोगे तो ये angle मिलेगा. If these directions mean north, south, east, west, then you can talk like that. Either way, you just have to at least figure out the angle and draw it in your book and keep. And then you will look at the options in the question, and you will say you'll see how they have described it, and then you'll pick the right option. Now, whichever seems to describe what you have drawn, but at least figure out the direction and keep it. You need not write it in words, figure it out and keep, and then check it in words. It's not north of east. You would say it's, if at all you have to say anything, it's south of east. ये मेरा ईस्ट है और ये नीचे की तरफ है, तो इट्स साउथ ऑफ ईस्ट इफ एट ऑल, नॉट नॉर्थ ऑफ ईस्ट। नॉर्थ मतलब ऊपर होगा, वो वैसा होना चाहिए नॉर्थ के लिए। Okay, how do we know that it's a right angle triangle? So ऐसा कुछ दिया नहीं है कि it's a right angle. एक मिनट, one of these things, so can we say sin inverse 1 by root 10? Of course, बिल्कुल यार, मतलब वो तो है ही, sin theta is 2 by 2 root 10, sin theta is 1 by root 10, so you can also say theta is sin inverse 1 by root 10, cos inverse 3 by root 10. You can of course express it in those forms as well. This is where you have to see the options and see option में किस फॉर्म में लिखा है, accordingly तुम उस फॉर्म में थीटा निकालने की कोशिश करोगे, ठीक है। वन ऑफ यू सेइंग ये राइट एंगल ट्राइंगल, देखो ये दिया नहीं था, but imagine I have a diagram like this and I need to figure out this. How would you calculate that? If this is a geometry question, how are you going to calculate this length? You don't know to work with polygons, but you know how to work with triangles, especially you know how to work with right angle triangles. So you create a right angle triangle to calculate this length. Okay, we created that right angle triangle to calculate that length geometrically. कैसे, ये 2 था, ये 4 था, तो आई नो दिस इज 6 है ना, ये ज्यादा दिमाग नहीं लगता, वो 6 दिख रहा है साफ साफ, 2 and 4 वो 6 दिख रहा है, यहाँ पे दिस इज 3, दिस इज 5, तो अभी this has to be the remaining 2, so we created this right angle triangle. We realized कि this is ultimately moving, it's ultimately moving towards the right by 6, it is moving downward by 2. All right, so this hypotenuse will be the Pythagoras addition of 6 and 2. And it's a slanting line. Yes, we're going to do some more sums using polygon law. समझ में आया क्यों क्रिएट किया ट्राइंगल? Yeah, I need to figure out the magnitude ना. So now अब ज्योमेट्री है, पैरेललोग्राम लॉ ने इधर तक लेके आके छोड़ दिया हमें। पैरेललोग्राम लॉ ने बोला कि ये अपना रिजल्टेंट है, ऐसा छोड़ दिया। अब वो रिजल्टेंट का मैग्नीट्यूड कैसे निकालना है? So that's where little geometry comes in. Okay, how am I getting 6 again? Baba, this is 2, this is 4. So what is this? यहाँ पे है ना रेक्टेंगल दिख रहा है ना, ये भी 4 हो गया ना, वो 4 है तो ये भी 4 है, ये 3 है तो ये भी 3 है, तो फिर ये क्या हो गया, ये 2 और 4 का एडिशन 6 हो गया ना, समझ में आया? Because that's a rectangle, and then because this is 3, तो ये पूरा 5, ये इतना 3, ये 2, and by figuring that we get this. So it's just the question on geometry. Okay. Given these terms, we'd have to construct this to figure this out. See, also one of you was changing the direction. Now this is just me strictly following the order, demonstrating polygon law, but otherwise you can also change the order in which you add. So what some of you must have done is you must have added A and B, A and C. So A and C इसमें थोड़ा और अच्छा दिखेगा, A and C 2 4 हो गया. Then you added B जो ऊपर गया 3 से, and then you added D जो नीचे आया 5 से, है ना? तो ये ऊपर गया 3, ये नीचे आया कुल मिलके 5, मतलब कुल मिलके कितना नीचे आया, सिर्फ 2, ऊपर गया 3, नीचे आया 5. It's gone down by an amount 2. So this is where you directly get that 6 and 2 wala triangle. Yeah? This is where you directly get root 40. So if you want, you can, if you feel convenient, you can change the order also in which you add things. It makes sense to club the horizontal ones and club the vertical ones. In fact, In this case, we can do that mentally as well. Can't we see कि ये horizontally 6 towards right हो रहा है और vertically 5 और 3 है ना? Somebody is pushing down by 5, somebody is pushing up by 3. Cancel, okay, what will prevail? 2 downwards will remain at the end. Can we see that orally as well? You know? So adding all these vectors, isn't that just like adding 6 and 2? 6 towards right, 2 downwards. By triangle law, that's going to give me root 40. You know? All right. Let me know if you're still writing this page. The same values as before. Same values as before. I want you to try and attempt this. Okay. So, अब क्या कर रहा हूँ? थोड़ा मैंने complicate किया है. A plus B plus C plus D पूछने की जगह कुछ तो 3A minus B plus C plus D ऐसा पूछा है. उसमें भी I'll just repeat the values for A. So A is 2 towards right, है ना? B was 3 upwards. Everything in Newton. I think I'm not writing the units. It's just for you to remember what this was. C was 4 towards right, same values. D is 5 downwards, all in Newton. Find 3A minus B plus C plus D. Ten के साथ root 125 is wrong, but Ishan and Bhavya, your answers are right. Eight root 2 is also wrong. Smriti Rupa answers right. गिरीश सही है, आदित्य सही है. भव्या सही है, मानस सही है, ओम सही है, वेदिका, पीयूष, उन्नति, कैनाथ, सोहम, वरुण, you're all right. ओमकार सही है, डायरेक्शन गलत हो गया. एंड मोर देन जस्ट साउथ नॉर्थ वो सब छोड़ के एटलीस्ट जस्ट गेट द, ये तो वो भी बोल रहे तो वो भी चलेगा, बट make sure you figure out the angle properly. And if it's not 45 degrees, don't say southeast, southwest and all that. Okay? Akansha सही है. 2 root 26 is wrong. Lisa सही है. Kenath, Aliva. Root 234 is wrong. Rajasi सही है. Molly सही है. Okay? So I'm saying. Let's, should we see? Root 164, yeah, 2 root 41, that's correct. 2 root 41 is correct. 30 is wrong. Let's see if you're, by now, abhi cross check karo, abhi dekho, if you're still getting wrong answers, now nicely please analyze what you are doing and how does that compare to what I'm doing. Just cross check and see. Okay, what is the difference between what you're doing and what I'm doing? All right, so let's get rid of certain misconceptions in the beginning itself, especially all those who got slightly different answers. No, एक बार देख लो क्या गलत किया, है ना? तो 3a बार, पहले I'm going to figure out club क्या क्या करना है. चार वेक्टर को ऐड करना है. I'm not going to treat this as subtraction. I'm not going to look at that minus b bar and get scared or anything. We are going to add 4 vectors. What are the 4 vectors we're going to add? 3a bar, minus b bar, c bar, d bar. ये चार वेक्टर को ऐड करेंगे. ठीक है, I can put a plus sign over here. It's not going to change the question. So I'm going to add these 4 vectors. 3a bar, minus b bar, c bar, d bar. What is 3a bar? I have a bar as 2 towards right. So 3a bar is 3 times 6 towards right. What is minus b bar? B bar is 3 upwards, minus b bar is 3 downwards. What is c bar? 4 Newton towards right. And what is d bar? 5 Newton towards right. So the rest are the same. Only b bar के जगह minus b bar use कर रहे हैं, a bar के जगह 3 times a bar use कर रहे हैं. Fine, fair enough. Join the vectors. You can again club them. 6 plus 4, 10, 3 plus 5, 8. You can, of course, you should realize this is 10 and 8, the resultant. But let's do it by the longer method. Let's just to again see how polygon law works. Let's say you didn't realize that you could club the horizontal ones and the vertical ones. What you can do is join all of them in a head to tail fashion. So this is my 3a bar vector, 6 Newton towards right. This is my minus b bar vector, 3 Newton downward. C bar vector and D bar vector, 4 Newton towards right and 5 Newton downward respectively. So I get this kind of step-like shape. This is my chain. Okay. Now my available tail is to my available head is this vector. This is my resultant. So my resultant is the dark blue vector that I've drawn. Okay. अब ये vector कैसे निकालना है? Again, you want to find out a straight. If you want to ever find out a slanting line, treat it like the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle and try to find out the sides of the right angle triangle. So what are the sides of this gray right angle triangle I've drawn to figure out this dark blue vector? What are the sides of that gray right angle triangle? So I can see 6 over here. I can see 4 over here. है ना? तो rectangle के कारण ये भी 4 है. तो 6 and 4 कुल मिलके ये पूरा length 10 है. Simple. है ना? This is a little easier than the previous one because previous one में थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे हो रहा था, इसमें कुल मिलके नीचे ही जा रहा है. This length is 3 plus 5. 3 plus 5, 8. So now I have the sides of my right angle triangle as 10 and 8. 10 and 8 का resultant will give me the length of this hypotenuse. So 10 and 8, Pythagoras addition, root 10 square plus 8 square. Root 100 plus 64 is root 164, which is root 41 into 4 and can also be written as 2 root 41. So root 164, yeah, 2 root 41, that is correct. How do I figure out the angle? The sum set southwest here. Please don't make this costly mistake. West is towards the left, east is towards the right. तो वैसे तो south और east के बीच में है. फिर भी हम south east तो नहीं बोलेंगे. This is not 45 degrees. Okay. What is this angle? Figure out the angle. The angle is tan inverse. In fact, what is tan theta? Yeah. नहीं, ये थोड़ा confuse हो रहे हो. Sin theta 4/5 is 53. Sin 53 is 4/5. Tan 53 is not 4/5. Tan के दो option है. Tan 37 is 3/4. Tan 53 is 4/3. Alright, so this is tan theta is 8/10, यानी कि 4/5. This is not a standard angle. It's neither 37 nor 53. so it's not one of those angles. Never mind that tan theta 4/5 आ रहा है, मतलब theta को क्या बोलेंगे, tan inverse 4/5. So I know my direction. In fact, from now on, let's keep our answers like this. Just try to find out the direction with one line of your choice. Horizontal के साथ निकाल के रख दो या vertical के साथ निकाल के रख दो. तुमने इतना निकाला है, you have solved the question. इतना निकाला है, you solve the question. Why? Because अब बाद में अब तुम options देखोगे. Option क्या बोल रहा है? अच्छा, 2√41 making an angle of tan inverse 4/5 with the horizontal. That's correct. ये 2√41 at an angle of tan inverse 4/5 below the horizontal. चलेगा. Yeah, if they're talking about north, south, east, west, then they'll say 2√41 at an angle of tan inverse 4/5 south of east. South of east. Either way, make sure you just figure out the angle and make sure you know that whether it's with the horizontal or whether it's with the vertical. Okay, let me know when you're done with this. अब थोड़ा आ गया आइडिया कॉम्बिनेशन का, है ना? As you can see, we are still combining vectors which are only horizontal or vertical. Thoda with time, we'll develop certain tools which will help us club any random vectors, है ना? Be it horizontal, be it vertical, be it at an angle, we'll learn how to add all of them with time. What is the difference between east of south and south of east? फर्क नहीं है, depends on the angle. As I gave in an example before. In the meanwhile, बाकी copy कर लो जल्दी. ये डायरेक्शन को दो तरीके से रिप्रेजेंट करेंगे. ईस्ट ऑफ साउथ मतलब साउथ से ईस्ट की तरफ घूमना. ऑफ साउथ मतलब साउथ से ईस्ट की तरफ घूमना. So if I have to specify this direction, I'll say 60 degrees east of south. On the other hand, the same direction I can refer to it as 30 degrees south of east. South of east मतलब east से south की तरफ घूमना. South of east मतलब angle with east. East of south मतलब angle with south. How do we know it is 16? The way we figure this angle out, in some particular question, we may figure this out. If we figure that as 30, you'll obviously figure this as 60 because, complementary angles hai. And एक बार you figured out 30 and 60, मतलब वो question से मिलेगा कि ये 30, 60 है. Then you can understand ना कि south of east was angle with east. So this is the angle south of east. O off is the key. East of south is angle with south. So 60 degrees east of south is also the direction. Okay? Off के बाद जो आता है ना उसके साथ angle report कर लो. So if I want to represent it as east of south, so south के साथ क्या angle है 60. So I'll say 60 degrees east of south. Okay. And no worries, some of you are saying ki, when I'm giving the question you're not able to do, but solution you're understanding. No worries, you're learning the chapter. This is not the exam. You need thodi hai. You need nahi hai. This is, you're learning things. You're still learning the chapter. Some may get directly, some may take time to get. Point is, once you learn the chapter, uske baad, then you should be able to solve sums. This is still the learning phase. Okay? This is not the exam phase. All right. Now coming to this, so I hope you guys were done with that. So now, resultant is a zero vector, as I mentioned, when a closed chain is formed by the vectors added. All right. So for instance, in this diagram, if while adding A, B, C, and D, look at this, है ना, सब सेम सेंस में, सब एक के बाद एक चेन की तरह जा रहा है. तो A, B, C and D को ऐड करते करते अगर मुझे एक क्लोज्ड चेन मिल गया, मतलब मुझे इनका रिजल्टेंट ड्रॉ करने के लिए जगह ही नहीं है. There's no available tail, there's no available head, they are coinciding. Then in this case my resultant will be 0. So I will say A plus B plus C plus D is a null vector, right? Any doubt so far till this point? If I see vectors going in a cyclic fashion and they are forming a completely closed loop, gone in one order and they formed a completely closed loop, that means in sub ka addition is amounting to what? There's no place to draw the last side. It's amounting to 0. Okay, so therefore A plus B plus C plus D gives me a null vector. Okay, all right, no doubts there. Then remember one thing, that a property of a polygon is that the largest side, property of form. So what are we saying? If A, B, C, and D form a closed polygon when joining them head to tail, their resultant can be 0. Their resultant will be in that case 0. Okay, but when can they form a closed polygon? कोई भी 4 वेक्टर अगर मैंने तुम्हें दिया, कभी वो पॉलीगन बना सकता है. तो पॉलीगन बनने के लिए एक प्रॉपर्टी होता है कि सिर्फ नहीं, इक्वल होने का भी जरूरत नहीं है ना. इक्वल वो तो ट्रेपीजियम में वेयर आर ऑल द साइड्स इक्वल, इक्वल होने का भी जरूरत नहीं है. द आइडिया इज दिस कि पॉलीगन का एक प्रॉपर्टी होता है कि सबसे बड़ा साइड should be less than equal to the sum of all the other sides. The biggest side should always be lesser than equal to the sum of all the other sides. ठीक है, तो equal to भी टेक्निकली मतलब मैथ्स में दे विल से इक्वल टू अलाउ नहीं है, बट वी कैन फिट इन इक्वल टू एज वेल. जैसे एक एग्जांपल देखते हैं ना, कैन आई फॉर्म अ पॉलीगन विद द साइड्स 10, 1 and 2 and 3? Can I form a polygon with this? No. Why? Because this adds to 6. तो तुम ऐसा सोचो कि once you draw this line जिसका length is 10, है ना, तुम कितना एफर्ट लगाओ 1, 2, 3 सबको जोड़ के भी you will not be able to close the polygon. 1, 2, 3 जोड़ के भी you will not be able to close the polygon. On the other hand, can you form a polygon if instead of 3 this was 7? Can you just form a polygon? In this case, you can just form a polygon. एकदम चपटा दिखेगा polygon, but 1 plus 2 plus 7 is at least enough for me to again reach this end. Okay, it doesn't look like a very nice polygon. It's like a completely flattened out polygon. But at least वो line बंद हुआ. At least the loop got closed. So largest side in this case was equal to the sum of the other sides. Now naturally, if I give you a little bit more space, 1,2 की जगह थोड़ा और अगर जगह दे दिया, तो तुम एक और कंफर्टेबल पॉलीगन बना सकते हो ना. 1,2 की जगह इधर 2,3 दे दिया, तो नाउ सडनली यू आर स्पेस, यू डोंट नीड टू बी फ्लैटेंड आउट लाइक दिस. तुम क्या करोगे, तुम ऐसा एक आराम से एक पॉलीगन बना लोगे. 7 plus 3 plus 2 दिस इज 12 ना. तो 12 लेंथ का लाइन को थोड़ा ऐसा बेंड करके कंप्लीट कर सकते हैं. Alright, so basically you can easily form a polygon when the largest side is less than equal to sum of all the other sides. This is a property of a polygon. You may have seen this for a triangle. Triangle का भी ये property होता है, largest side is less than sum of the other sides. ये triangle का property होता है. You can also see that to be in a way true for a polygon. Okay, so पॉलीगन का अब ये प्रॉपर्टी है. अब इससे क्या समझ में आ रहा है? इफ आई हैव वेक्टर्स which are being added and I want to get 0 resultant, है ना. हाँ, yes, that's what I'm getting at. So if I want 0 resultant, that means for the 0 resultant to be possible for a given set of magnitudes, है ना, I'm just giving you the magnitudes, उनके लिए 0 resultant possible होने के लिए the vectors being added should be able to form a polygon. When can the vectors being added form a polygon? If the largest, अब side क्या होता है, magnitude होता है. तो if the largest magnitude is less than equal to the sum of all the other magnitudes, अगर ये कंडीशन ट्रू है, जैसे मान लो मैंने वेक्टर क्या दिया तुम्हें, 10 न्यूटन दिया और बाकी वेक्टर्स दे रहा हूं 7 न्यूटन, 3 न्यूटन, 2 न्यूटन, तो मेरा लार्जेस्ट मैग्नीट्यूड बाकी मैग्नीट्यूड्स के सम से अगर लेस देन इक्वल टू है, जो इस केस में है, देन द जीरो रिजल्टेंट, हाँ, if this is true then zero, then forming a polygon is possible. If this condition is true, forming a polygon is possible. But if this condition is false, when will this condition be false? कब मैं polygon बना नहीं सकता हूँ, कब मैं polygon बना नहीं सकता हूँ? Look, going back to the first example, 1 Newton, 2 Newton, 3 Newton. Can I form a polygon with these vectors? My largest magnitude is not less than equal to the sum of the others. My largest magnitude is greater than the sum of the others. इसको जब मैं join करने जाऊंगा, as I said, in no case can I even form a closed polygon. So if I can never form a closed polygon, can my resultant be zero? My resultant cannot be zero. All right. So for these vectors, simple idea is I can never get a zero resultant because with them I can never form a closed polygon. Therefore, I can never get zero resultant. And does that make sense? If one person applies a force of 10 Newton and there are 3 other people applying a force of 1, 2 and 3, can you ever get zero resultant? ये 3 लोग मिलके भी इसका force को गायब नहीं कर सकते. तो इसका force 10 था and these 3 together can only apply a force of 6 max. है ना? Okay, so just copy this and we'll see some examples. Just say everything will fit into your head. Okay. As you copy, I'll repeat a few explanations. The idea is, अगर तुम vectors given magnitude से अगर तुम एक polygon बना पाओगे, तो अगर एक closed polygon बना पाओगे, तो zero resultant मिलना possible है. Whole question is, the question will be such, they'll not give you directions for this. They'll just give you magnitudes of vectors and they'll ask you, can these vectors result in zero? That's what they'll ask. So how do you tackle that? You'll see whether this relation is true. Is the largest side lesser than equal to, or in this case, is the largest magnitude lesser than equal to sum of all the other magnitudes? If this is true, if this condition is true, then you can form a closed polygon and zero resultant is possible. अगर ये condition true है, zero resultant possible है. अगर ये condition true नहीं है, तुम polygon नहीं बना सकते हो और zero resultant possible नहीं है. ठीक है? कॉपी करके हो गया तो बता दो. थोड़ा एग्जांपल्स देख लेंगे फिर समझ में आ जाएगा तुम्हें. ओके. हाँ, at a time like that, those who want to say wait, that's the time for you to say wait. Okay. Okay. So both, Sania, both. That's a property of a polygon. The largest side has to be less than equal to the sum of the other sides. And for zero resultant, we should be able to form a closed polygon. For the zero resultant, we should be able to form that kind of polygon, a closed chain, a polygon बनना चाहिए. Therefore, that was also the condition required to get zero result. Are negative values also included in null vector questions? I didn't understand that. Negative value vector का magnitude कभी negative होगा ही नहीं. जैसा the side of a polygon can never have negative length, वैसे ही vector का magnitude will never be negative. So you'll only have positive magnitudes. And in this, no one's going to talk about direction. They're going to just ask you whether the resultant being zero is possible or not. एक second, let me just see this. हाँ, okay. गिरीश सही है, वरुण सही है, या नो वरीज मानस, भव्या सही है, पार्थ सही है, ईशान सही है, कैनाथ सही है, सोहम, ओम सही है. I think I may be missing names. राजसी सही है. जो भी एक्स्ट्रा कुछ बोल रहे हैं, कम बोल रहे हो, एक्स्ट्रा बोल रहे हो, I'm not gonna, that won't be considered correct. You have to give the exact ones which are correct. रीजा सही है, अलीवा सही है, मानस, that's right, Yuvika, that's right, very nice. Yeah? For you to get marks, Gauri सही है, Advika सही है. For you to get marks in this type of question, Kanika सही है, you need to pick the exact options which are correct, and there should be no incorrect option. Okay. Ananya सही है. So the answer is, बता दो या सोच लिया सबने? Anyone still wants time? So A and B are correct. C and D are incorrect. ठीक है? We are not saying कि resultant will be zero, because the actual resultant depends on the direction of the vectors. सिर्फ magnitude देख के we can't say कि सबका addition zero होगा या नहीं होगा. But the question is, in which case can the resultant be zero? In which case is it possible for the resultant to be zero? So if at all the resultant has to be zero, there has to be a closed polygon that we should create. We should be able to create. When can we create a polygon? If the largest magnitude is less than equal to sum of all the other magnitudes. So in all these questions, highlight the magnitudes. So these are my largest magnitudes: 10 Newton, 6 Newton, 12 Newton, 20 Newton. Highlight the magnitudes which are the largest. See if they are less than equal to the sum of all other magnitudes. So in the first case, 10 is less than 5 plus 6 plus 2, which is 13. 10 is less than 13. Therefore, polygon बन सकता है. This can be zero. इसका resultant can be zero. अगला case, 6 Newton is equal to the sum of the other vectors. Alright, equal to भी चलेगा. इसमें भी resultant can be zero, and you can visualize that. 3, 2, 1 मिलके 6 को cancel कर सकते हैं क्या? हाँ, मिलके कर सकते हैं, है ना? What about the next one? इसमें 12 Newton is greater than 1 plus 7 plus 3. Our largest side is greater than the sum of the other sides. इसमें polygon नहीं बनेगा. Therefore, in this the resultant cannot be zero, and you can see that here itself. ये तीन मिलके सिर्फ 11 न्यूटन देंगे. 11 न्यूटन 12 न्यूटन कैंसिल कर ही नहीं सकता है ना? Similarly, the last one, Just you should have checked properly. 3 plus 7 plus 2 plus 5, that's 17. 20 is still greater than 17. So larger side is bigger. You cannot form a polygon. Resultant cannot be 0. Got it? I hope those who got this wrong have understood now the mistake you may have made. Let me know if you want me to wait. Okay. All right. So before coming to 36, I'll maybe talk about 37 since it's very similar to what we just did. Okay. तो एक बार 37 का बात करेंगे. Conceal a bit. Okay. So what is the range of magnitude of the resultant of n vectors? मतलब range क्या होता है? Range is like a set of values, है ना? मतलब कहाँ से कहाँ. Range describes that. कहाँ से कहाँ, minimum क्या है, maximum क्या है, किन values के बीच में something lies. That is range. Range of magnitude of the resultant of n vectors. मतलब इसमें क्या होएगा? If I give you 4 vectors like this, and I'm telling you to add these vectors, then I'm trying to ask you इनके addition से ज्यादा कितना आ सकता है, कम से कम कितना आ सकता है, ज्यादा से ज्यादा कितना आ सकता है और कम से कम कितना आ सकता है. That's what I'm going to try and ask. Okay. So no, I can't conceal both. Okay. So consider this example. इसमें ज्यादा से ज्यादा कितना आएगा? So how do you find the maximum? Okay. So this is the first case. In this case, my largest magnitude is greater than the sum of all the other magnitudes. My largest magnitude is greater than the sum of all the other magnitudes. So in this, what we know, what is just fresh in our mind is, in this case, 0 is never possible. है ना? The largest magnitude is greater than the sum of all the other magnitudes. 0 is not possible. 0 is not possible. है ना? 0 is not possible. So what is my magnitude in this, maximum magnitude in this case? Max क्या आएगा? सभी को club कर लो एक साथ. Let them put their forces together. So the max magnitude I can get is 10 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, 14. Quite obvious. Yeah, when all of them act together, what I get, that is my max magnitude. So my max magnitude is addition of all the magnitudes. Addition of all the magnitudes. Okay. That's my max magnitude. No problem there. I don't think you'll ever have a problem with finding the max value. Minimum value. Minimum value के लिए ask yourself, is 0 possible? 0 is not possible. In this case में 0 is not possible. So what is my minimum magnitude then? तो क्या है? Why was 0 not possible? क्योंकि ये जो 10 जो है ना, 10 को ये बाकी सब मिलके भी कैंसिल नहीं कर सकते थे, है ना? But if I want minimum magnitude, then that should be my attempt. Try to create 0. How are we trying to create 0? ये जो मेरा 10 वाला वेक्टर था, उस सबसे बड़ा वेक्टर को बाकी सब के स्ट्रेंथ से अपोज करने की कोशिश करेंगे. तो बाकी सबका कंबाइंड स्ट्रेंथ कितना है? 1 plus 2 plus 1 4 है. तो 10 को हम 4 के स्ट्रेंथ से अपोज करने की कोशिश करेंगे. What will be left? 10 minus 4, 6 will be left, right? That is my minimum resultant. So my minimum resultant is largest magnitude minus sum of all other magnitudes. Largest magnitude minus sum of all other magnitudes. And because my largest magnitude is greater, I will get some non-zero term over here. In this case, I'm getting 6. Largest magnitude is 10. Sum of other magnitudes is 4. So I'm getting 10 minus 4, 6 as the range of magnitudes in which this resultant can lie. तो resultant किस values के बीच में lie करेगा? 6 and 14 के बीच में lie करेगा. Yes, Girish, yes. So two vectors का भी बाद में देखेंगे, but then two vectors is far simpler. You can, if you can do this for multiple vectors, you can talk about this for two vectors as well. Okay? But we'll jump to the two vectors case a little later. फिलहाल है ना ये broader case cover कर रहे हैं. Any set of vectors given, you see if the largest is greater than the remaining. If that is true, max value is of course the sum of all. Minimum value is this one minus those. 10 minus 4, 6. Okay. Then in second case is when 0 is possible, where the largest magnitude is less than the sum of other magnitudes. जैसे यहाँ पे 5 है सबसे बड़ा, but बाकी मिलके 6 दे रहा है. In this case, max magnitude is of course the sum of all. Why should that ever change? सबको एक साथ डाल दो तब सबसे ज्यादा resultant मिलेगा. So max magnitude is 5 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3, 11. Minimum magnitude is 0. The smallest magnitude any vector can have. Remember, vectors magnitudes are never negative. The smallest value it can have is 0. Whole thing is 0 possible in such a case? The answer is yes, 0 is possible. If 0 is possible, 0 is the minimum magnitude. If 0 is possible, you'll have to do this. Okay, so what have we learned? कोई भी case हो, max magnitude is always the sum of all vectors, all magnitudes. Max magnitude is sum of all magnitudes. But the minimum magnitude is 0 if 0 is possible. And if 0 is not possible, then you'll have to do largest magnitude minus बाकी सबका sum. तो जैसे इस केस में 0 पॉसिबल था तो मिनिमम 0 था. इस केस में 0 पॉसिबल नहीं है तो मिनिमम है 10 माइनस इन सब का कॉम्बिनेशन. 10 minus 4, 6. Got it? Any doubt, please ask. We'll try one example on this. Okay. And it'll stay in your head. लिख के हो गया तो बता दो. If you were to write the range, how would you frame it? So you'd say do I have that on this page? एक बार देख लेता हूँ. यहाँ पे I've just repeated the thing. You'll frame the range in this way. You'd say the resultant lies between 6 and 14. So you can either say it lies between 6 and 14, or you can say its minimum magnitude is 6, maximum is 4, or you can even say this if you want to represent it mathematically. You'll say इसमें resultant का magnitude is between 14 and 6. यहाँ पे you'll say resultant का magnitude is between 0 and 11. हो गया ये पेज का? Page 38 is same thing. I've just concluded maybe in a better way. I've just said कि resultant का max is simply sum of all magnitudes, sum of other magnitudes. I'm so sorry. This is sum of all magnitudes. I'll correct this. Resultant का max magnitude, max value sum of all magnitudes. एक मिनट, sorry. Resultant का max value sum of all magnitudes, and resultant resultant max value sum of all magnitudes. Resultant min value has two cases. So case one is when the largest magnitude is less than sum of all the others, मतलब इसमें zero possible है, and zeros are answer. Case two, जब largest magnitude बाकी सबसे बड़ा है, तब zero possible नहीं है, तो तब minimum क्या होगा? Largest magnitude minus sum of other magnitudes. So that's the basic idea. ठीक है? This is the basic idea. तो इससे एक question करेंगे. एक बार जल्दी से इसको, if you want to copy कर लो. And then we just do a quick question. Anyone wants me to wait here? Waiting. मैं वेट बोला हो गया. तो क्वेश्चन ये है, find the range of, given the magnitudes below, find the range for each case. Okay? You can write it the way I was writing, है ना? Resultant का magnitude is less than equal to something, greater than equal to something. तो वैसे चारों के लिए जल्दी से आंसर कर लो, and then we are done. Should not take time. हो जाएगा 2 मिनट में. If you've understood the algorithm, है ना? So 5, 6, 2, 10, 3, 2, 1, 6, 1, 7, 3, 12, 5, 2, 7, 3, 20. I think it will help me if, I mean, you solve all four. That will also limit the number of messages I get on the chat, so I can respond. Solve all four and then give your answers. A, B, C, D, etc. भव्या सही है, पार्थ सही है. Kenath, तुम्हारा आंसर, your answer is A is correct, B is correct, C is correct, and D is also correct. Nice. Girish, your first one is wrong. The rest are correct. वेक्टर का मैग्नीट्यूड यार कभी जीरो नहीं, जीरो से कम नहीं होगा, कभी जीरो से कम नहीं होगा. इफ यू गेटिंग नेगेटिव मैग्नीट्यूड यू आर टेकिंग सम रॉन्ग केस. ठीक है, वेक्टर का मैग्नीट्यूड कभी जीरो से कम नहीं होगा. (22 to 1), yeah, 1 to 22 for the first one is wrong. भव्या सही है, आकांक्षा सही है, ईशान, what have you given me? अच्छा, you have given, क्या क्या वेदिका सही है. ओम 20 ऑलमोस्ट, मतलब 23 हो जाएगा, सी वाला 23 1. You given max and min का डिफरेंस. ठीक है, I got it. I think first वाला थोड़ा गलत, फर्स्ट वाला सही नहीं किया शायद, बट 23 आएगा पहले वाले का. चलो क्रॉस चेक करते हैं. I think a lot of answers coming in. I'm hoping most of you are right. I'm hoping most of you are seeing this. Okay, so in fact let's go over the maximums first. सबका maximum just add करो, है ना? So 10 2 6 5 that gives me 23. 6 1 2 3 gives me 12. That's all the maximums taken care of. 12 11 23 and 20 plus 7 plus 7 plus 3 37. So these are all the maximums. Make sure you got this right, है ना? कोई किसी का यहाँ पे 22 या कुछ आ रहा था, है ना? I think some silly mistake. Maximums are these. Okay? We don't even need to look at the case. Minimums क्या है? Minimums के लिए तुम्हें largest value minus the rest करना है if largest value is indeed bigger. Some of you didn't check the first one. ये largest value 10 था, बाकी मिलके 13 दे रहा है. So you can't say 10 minus 13 minus 3. Resultant is never going to be negative. Okay, what does this tell you? Because this can reach 13, this can cancel this out. In fact, isn't this the case where resultant can be 0, largest side less than equal to sum of other sides? इसमें 0 resultant possible है. 10 is less than 5 plus 6 plus 2, 0 possible है. So 0 is our minimum. Don't go below 0. Okay, 0 is our minimum resultant. फिर दूसरे केस में largest side is equal to sum of all the other sides. Again, यहाँ पे distinctly clearly दिख रहा है 0 possible है. So the second one was 0 to 12. For the next two cases, our largest side was always bigger than the remaining. All right, so because the largest side was bigger than the remaining, our minimum value is going to be largest side minus sum of remaining. So 12, 11, 12 minus 11, 1. So C is going from 1 to 23. And for the last one, this is 20. Sum of the remaining 17, again bigger than the remaining. So this is going, minimum value is 20 minus 17, 3. So this is going from 3 to total 37. Got it? Simple. Any doubt? See, those who got it, you want to leave, you can leave. We'll meet again tomorrow. Tomorrow is not a doubt session. Tomorrow I'm going to take a lecture, proper lecture. We'll continue this idea further, and then I'll give you a lot of homework for next week. So please, कल doubt session ही attend करो, ठीक है? Entire class come tomorrow. Yeah. Welcome. Can I go to page 30? अच्छा, 30. Bye. किसी को कुछ पूछना था, कुछ डाउट पूछ लो. One of you had said something, मैं भूल गया यार. हाँ, लिंक ले लो एक मिनट. First one is a link to the recording. Second one is a link to the notes. Welcome. Bye. Stay safe. All right. Bye.